Hello and welcome to the Bothering Strangers podcast. My guest today is comedian jrdeguzman. You may have seen him on Netflix's comedy lineup, or you might have seen his comedy album Dual Citizen, which is on iTunes. JR is speaking with me today from Sacramento. JR, how are you doing?
I'm good, man. I like that. It's very real and raw, Coming from, speaking from, I'm both.
Yeah, no,
I'm in
you
Sacramento.
are both. What, how have the pandemic's been going on for what seems like 10 years now. So and you were performing quite a bit before the pandemic. So
Yeah.
what's happened? Have you just gone full virtual, done a little bit of in person? What's that about?
Yeah. So I guess I'm trying to remember when everything started. It's like looking back and we're in like an apocalyptic world and you're like,
Yeah.
man, do you remember when it all started? But I think around March, right? Mid-March is when all the shows started getting
Oh, sure.
canceled. In the very beginning, no live shows. Things opened up in California for like maybe 2 weeks in June, I think, or July.
Yeah.
And I had done two shows and then everything closed up again. And I just did my first in-person college in South Dakota this last weekend, here in September. But other than that, it's all, yeah, virtual shows. I've been doing other people's podcasts, stuff like that, and making my own little videos here and there.
How was it getting that first in person, stand up experience again?
Well, dude, okay, from the email that I'm doing it, I was like, oh hell yeah, I was a little bit like, I know some people are like a little bit like scared to go out and do shows or whatever. I felt that as well. Okay, should I travel, all that stuff, but I also just I needed to get a set in, and so I took all the different precautions and asked other people what they were doing. Like I saw Jeremiah Watkins, you know him?
Heard the
He's
name.
a he's a comic that's at the Comedy Store a lot, super funny guy. But he made a post about what precautions he took on when he was doing shows in person, and I just did the same thing. But it was both cool and weird. I felt like I was doing stand up in like a weird like futuristic movie because everyone was wearing masks and every chair was 6 feet apart from each other. Like it was interesting. Yeah,
Was it just college students?
just college students. Yeah. It was like Lord of the Flies. There weren't even like teachers or any parental like dude, Yeah.
Well, I think South Dakota is doing pretty well with coronavirus. I know they don't have a big
Yeah.
population, so that for sure helps. But
I think their cases are low. Yeah, there's one thing. If people go look up, there's one part of South Dakota that went through a bunch. It was Sturgis. Have you heard of that?
not
Have
know
you
about
seen
that.
that video?
No.
They had a motorcycle rally.
Oh yeah, is that where that was? Oh
Have you
yeah.
seen that video, dude? It's
Now I have.
amazing.
Was it a
It's
Trump rally?
I think it was a Trump and motorcycle rally. It's the best,
Yeah.
dude. It's the best.
I heard it got really bad actually from that one motorcycle rally.
I mean, depending on what side everyone believes, everyone has different things about it. But just this video itself, doesn't matter what you believe, it's just hilarious. Because the first guy that goes on, he is like, one of the comments was like, this is the man who is slowly becoming a motorcycle. Because he was like there for motorcycles. And as he's talking, he starts like his voice like he's like has that grit in his voice. Like,
I haven't performed stand up since March, since before the pandemic. Not that I was,
yeah.
performing a ton anyway. But I mean, I feel like the first time I do perform and like see all these people just in masks, I feel like it's just gonna throw me off.
Yeah. I mean, like when you're performing and the audience is all in masks.
Yeah, yeah. Well, not in Solomon, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah. Well, some places didn't. So from what I've seen, I think some of them they don't have to wear masks if they're socially distanced. This one was taking the extra step of like you're going to be 6 feet apart and wearing masks. But it was weird. I even commented on like it's just strange. Like I can just see eyes staring at me and no mouths, like no smiles, like all that stuff. It was a little creepy, but it was fine.
Do you think?
I'm just happy to do a live show.
Oh yeah, for sure. I feel like masks stifle laughter though.
Oh yeah, maybe that's why I felt like I was bombing.
Do you actually think you bombed, or did people like tell you?
No, no,
Oh,
no. I thought the show was fine. I thought it was good. It was funny though. Like I don't know if it stifles laughter. I think okay. So in my opinion, if what's harder in the crowd would probably be the space and the distance, right?
oh yeah.
Because it's like as an audience, when you're closer together, laughter is contagious, but I guess so is COVID-19. So like, they're just like, let's space apart. But yeah, I think it was harder to get a role, like everyone together, but it's almost like then I have to be more active and have more energy to like ring them up together, wrangle them up together kind of thing.
Yeah, I can for sure kind of see that as an issue. I also feel like just when you kind of make like when there are groups of people, it's like one person looks at the other person to make sure they're laughing, to make sure it's funny, and then they want that confirmation, and now you can't get as much of that because people are so far apart.
Yeah, and you can't tell if they're laughing because they have a mask on.
Oh yeah, no, you can't tell. I mean, I was having that problem before I remember doing a book show, and
Yeah.
and the worst part was that it was the day Kobe died.
Oh my
So
gosh,
yeah,
you had a show on the day Kobe died.
I find out in the morning.
Wow.
I'm like, oh, I
Yeah,
have to do a show tonight. Like,
I have so many
and it's
questions.
my
Yeah,
first 15-minute set. And I'm like,
first
oh,
15 ever.
first one ever, and actually the only one I've ever done, sadly. But it's
Okay,
okay.
no, but yeah, that's the thing, man. It's people. If anyone doesn't know who would listen to this, it's like you build from doing a 5, then a 10, a 15. Sometimes you do 15s for like 2 years. If
Yeah,
like
I did. I wasn't. I didn't even think I was gonna do 15. I ended up doing about 14 and a half, which is obviously a great spot to be in. But the
yeah,
most I'd done before that was 7.
wow. So did you have the material in multiple like sets? You know what I mean? Like if you did 2 5s, you're like, okay, I
Yeah,
have.
I kind of took. I was like, I had like 5 minutes that I was like at that time. I was like, I know these are good. This is a
This
good
is your
5.
5.
Took that 5. Um, took jokes here, here, and here, and then I was like, okay, I need to get better at crowd work anyway.
Yeah.
So like, I'll for sure do a little more crowd work than I would like previously.
Hmm.
So I did a little crowd work. You've performed in the Midwest. This was the Midwest where I went to college. They have some different crowds out there, I find. Like where like they
Yeah.
find stuff's funny, but they don't laugh. They just smile.
Interesting. What was the venue?
It was just like a bar. It was like so I went to college, University of Kansas. It's in this town called Lawrence, Kansas. And I go to
Hmm.
this part of Lawrence where students never go. Like it's called North Lawrence. And it's this bar. It's just like a bar out of nowhere, not very popular. And you do have to pay to watch the show. It's $5, so we split the pot when when the night was over. But I just remember doing my jokes and like an idiot, I started off with a tribute to Kobe because he died the day because I want to. Such a bad move.
Oh
Such a
my
bad.
god! That was the first thing I was gonna ask, right? Because I think
That
the
was the
first
first
thing
thing I
that goes to
did.
my head is like let's say 9/11 happens, right? And then you have a show that day. Do you comment on it? You know what I mean? It's like, do you comment on it, or do you just like elephant in the room, leave the elephant there? Dude, so you went full on Kobe
My
tribute, like
intentions were good.
serious or comedy?
No, serious, serious.
Serious tribute. Okay.
But the difference was people are looking at me like the room was like other than like the people I brought, my college friends, everyone was more in the middle aged. So they're
Okay.
looking at me like, you're not going to make a joke about Kobe now, are you? And I immediately said, this is serious. I'm not joking. And then it
Yeah.
threw off my whole set. I was like 1 minute, 45 seconds.
Yeah.
Set threw off the whole set from that
It
point on.
is. It is hard. Like the way you start, man, just definitely
You start to
sets
say
a tone.
everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Or otherwise you have to kind of build the momentum back out of a hole.
Yeah, the only like laughs I really got like big laughs across the and people were not together. Like not it
Yeah.
wasn't even, it was before the demo. People were just like spread out. The only big laugh was when I said to this guy in front of me, I went, "Are you tall?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I'm like, "How tall are you?" And he goes, "I'm 5'11." And then I went, "You're not tall." Like that was it. Me calling him
You're
average.
just crushing this guy's dream of like this whole life. He thought he's tall. Basically changing his entire reality, dude. And
Yeah, pretty much.
in front of a crowd. It was an intervention for this guy to
He's like,
realize,
"I'm
like,
not
dude, you've been
tall."
going. Yeah. Like,
What?
hey, Eric, you've been shopping at Big and Tall for way too long, and no one's had the heart to tell you. This guy came in and just finally gave it to you like it is. Dude, so you started out with like a eulogy and then did a stand-up set.
Essentially, I started the eulogy, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go full 180 into comedy right now.
The only relatable experience I have that is, being in a Filipino family, any family really, they know you do stand-up. Every event, right? They have you, hey, can you do a set? Weddings, birthdays.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for me, they'll always ask me if I could do a speech, but it's like, can I just be serious?
They
Like,
know
well,
they
come
know what
on.
you want. They know
Yeah,
they want jokes.
make it funny.
Yeah.
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 So that's fine. I usually will. I'll stress out about it until like the day of, then it goes fine. The weirdest one I ever did was my own grandma's funeral. They asked me to do a set.
Oh my God. Tell me.
Yeah, dude.
I need all the details on that.
Well, it's I don't know if it's any similar to the Kobe eulogy that you did at your set, but
Probably.
it wasn't at the actual funeral itself. It was like the wake. I always forget which one's which. It's like just the open casket
You're
service,
asking the
dude.
wrong
So
person.
my grandma was in the audience, and it's like I understand like a roast at like a birthday, but like, hey, can you roast your grandma? It's like I don't know because she's dead. This is gonna be a weird roast.
Tread lightly.
Yeah. So, anyways, I bombed. I didn't, I didn't really do very well, but I get it. I understand it. That was basically it. They asked me to go on. It was like everyone was crying because I think there was like a song that went before me and all this stuff. And then I went on. I didn't roast her. I was just telling like stories about her, and I think nobody understood that like this is supposed to be funny in any way. And
Yeah.
so it just sounds
Yeah.
like I'm saying weird facts about my grandma. Like, they're like, what was that? Was that a tribute or I don't know what he just did up there.
What was he trying to be funny? Was he trying to be
Yeah,
serious?
yeah, dude. I don't know. Maybe if I bombed hard enough, my grandma would have come back to life. So that's one. You know what I mean? She was like,
That was the goal,
how
right?
dare you? That was the goal. That
That
was
was the
the goal.
goal. I didn't think we'd
Last
be getting into this so early in the podcast. I didn't expect this to happen. But
chance.
I'm happy it did though, I'll tell you that much. Was it at a
Yeah,
church?
it was at a church. Well, it was what was that? It's where was this at? It was somewhere in LA. I want to say like like a chapel. It was a chapel because she was buried in Forest Lawn. You know where that's at in LA?
Yeah, I have a general idea where it is.
Cemetery to the stars. A lot of famous people buried
Is it
there.
real?
So
Are you serious?
there are some famous people buried there. Yeah, but
Did not
she's
know that.
yeah, but like she's in the regular people's area.
They have a famous people section and she's not in it.
Yeah, yeah. Ooh, let's go visit Bob Hope. It's like as you're as you're visiting your grandma.
You're a singing comedian. You talk about it in your sets that you learned to sing in the church.
Mhm.
But what made you, I mean, in America, the very few singing comedians that I know off the top, what made you be like, I want to be like the singing comedian?
Yeah, well, I don't even know if it was like I wanted to. It just kind of came naturally. So
You don't want to.
the I thought, yeah, I'm gonna give it up tomorrow. No, kind of like I love it. I love it because I wanted to be a musician first before doing comedy, and so when I started doing comedy, I remember like I think I was doing stand up for maybe like a year, just regular stand up, and in college, one of the classes I took, it was at Davis as an elective of all comedy aspects, not just stand up.
Oh, wow.
And our last project was musical comedy, so we had to write an original song for it. And it went well in the class when I performed it. And so I was like, oh, let me close my stand-up set with this, the next show that I have or open mic, whatever I'm doing. And that was when jrdeguzman was born.
So like it's like we were talking about before we got on here, but it's like in America, like I feel like people look at the guy who comes to an open mic with a guitar and they're like, oh, this
Yeah.
guy.
Yep.
Now, obviously, you're booking and like you're not open micing. I can't imagine very much. But what was it like when you started bringing that guitar to open
Hmm.
mics and they're like, oh man, here we got a singing one on our hands.
Yeah, there was both aspects. I think half was in my head, half was real because like I was actually getting booked because it was original and I wasn't like and I was doing well. Like I wasn't just it would be one thing if I went up and just started bombing and they were like, "Yep, I just
Get rid of the guitar.
idea confirmed. Guitar guy sucks." But because that's what you're going up against. I think you're walking in with a guitar and in their mind they've seen another guy with a guitar that just was terrible or something was weird or hacky and that's just what they think you're going to be like. And so that was the obstacle I was up against. But I think because it went well, or like maybe it was a good spot on the show. I was actually getting booked pretty decently, like from the music stuff. But there were also some places where it was harder to get booked as well. So it's like even though I could pretty regularly like find a show early on, there was I feel like there were some where it was like they were really opposed to it until I started growing a little bit more as a comic, or like getting bigger like spots and stuff. And then they're like, okay, we'll join this.
They wanted to see if you were like consistently doing a good show. I feel like with the guitar before they took the risk.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
If it's just like a novelty or it's something like legit kind of thing.
I can for sure see that. What about you performed on Kevin Hart's Heart of the City.
Heart of the City.
Very cool. And I mean, I think he just kind of highlights lesser known comedians. What was, when you came on into that room with the guitar, like what were the thoughts there?
Yeah. So like in respect to like just that room, that environment.
Well, actually, let me ask you this. Were you the first person? There were three of you guys in that episode in Kevin Hart's Heart of the City, which you can just Google online and watch.
Yeah.
Were you the first one to perform?
I was. So there was a host and then me.
Okay, so you're the first of like the three people that they brought on.
Yeah, but I think in the episode it's like they put me at the end, like they cut it up differently. But
they did.
Yeah, so yeah, I was the first one to perform.
So what happens? They walk in, they see an Asian guy with a guitar.
Yeah, so it's a pretty like it's known, like the room it's a pretty like black crowd, black audience, black room.
Was it in
Sacramento?
Sacramento?
A lot of black comics go through there. Yeah, it's a place called Touch of Class. Okay. And it's got like a bar, a barbershop, and a kitchen, dude.
Yeah. So wait,
everything.
Before I get to that, the barbershop is not in the same room as the comedy club, right?
No, but it's all like attached.
It's all attached. Like you have to walk like a separate door to get to the comedy club.
Yeah.
That's insane. I love that right there.
Yeah. It's like, and they do, I don't know how many shows they do, but it's like basically the bar room has like a little venue area. And so when I went in there, like I had done Touch of Class 2 times before that because it's in Sac, and so I kind of had been familiar with the audience, but not so familiar. And dude, it was great. Honestly, the energy was so good. Like I think in comedy, no matter what, any sort of surprise thing is like it is good. It works in your favor. Like if you're I don't know, just anything. But like if if you're on a show and then you're something that's different, like let's say like you're Jewish, you were saying before.
Yeah, I'm Jewish, yeah.
If you're if you're the only guy talking about Jewish stuff on a all like non-Jewish show or whatever, that's not the term. It would be a show.
It helps for sure. Except usually I'm not the only Jewish guy performing.
You're not the only Jewish guy.
So the bigger issue is that even when I was in the Midwest, there was always one other person who was Jewish.
Yeah. Dude,
I've had some odd experiences in the last couple years.
Did you?
I worked at a Christian college, like a very Christian college when I say that.
The school that you went to was a Christian college?
No, I went to University of Kansas Public College. I worked at a school for like one semester only a couple months ago called Mid-American Nazarene University.
I was going to say leave the name out, but go ahead.
No, I'm putting it in there. I loved working there. I loved my time there. Hey, I can tell you with 100% confidence without even asking, I was the only Jew on campus. Even though I was an employee, I was the only Jew on campus. So I had some odd experiences as a Jew.
Yeah.
Like sometimes, and I'm sure you know this as just like as a Filipino guy, it's like sometimes white people try to like tend to you.
Mm-hmm.
So they want to make things relevant to you as other.
Sure.
I'm white. I don't need you to make things relevant to me. Like I'm good.
Yeah.
but people still sometimes, not all of them, people still sometimes try to make things relevant. So like even in like my interview for the internship, when I just mentioned I do stand up and I somehow mentioned I was Jewish. I don't know how that happened, but later on he goes, or the first thing they said when I said I was Jewish, they go, "So Seinfeld?" And I'm like, wrong move. Like,
wow, right
away. Bring up Seinfeld. I don't even like Seinfeld. I know.
But that's the funny thing to me, and it's just so natural. Like it's annoying. It's not like so.
Too.
It's well intentioned, but just kind of annoying, right? But it's like because in their brain you can see though they're like trying to find. They're scrolling through similar interests. They're going through like
trying to connect. They're trying to find a way to connect as well.
But it's like so limited. It's kind of hilarious. Like I talk about it on stage now. I did it at the last show where it's like people will come up to me after show like, "Oh, dude, you're Filipino? That's so crazy. My dad served in Vietnam." I'm just like,
Vietnam, not even the same country.
yeah. I'm like, that's cool. So your dad fought a war in Asia, and what am I supposed to do with that? So yeah,
But man,
but
thanks for letting me know.
yeah,
I'll be sure to thank him
but
for the service.
but on the note, I think we're talking about what were we talking about right before that? The guitar thing
Yeah, Heart of the
or
City.
singing? Oh, Heart of the City, yeah,
Yeah.
dude, that crowd. So that was one of those moments. So my parents came to the show.
Oh
I
wow.
invited some of my like two friends to the show, my girlfriend at the time. And that was like I got like they kind of showed at the end, but I got like a standing ovation in it, and then they kind of cut off the rest. But it was like it was the most like it was the coolest like first that was my first TV credit. Coolest
Was
first
that
TV
your
credit
first one?
experience I ever got.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And just the energy in the room was really good, and I was up first just right after the host.
When was your moment like was there a time when you were doing stand up and like you just like weren't doing as well as you had been in the past and like you're getting kind of discouraged about it and then you have one show and it goes really well and you're like, "Oh, this is what I need to be doing."
Like yeah, dude, every year, yeah.
Every year? I've only had that
Every
happen to
year.
me once. I've only happened to me once though.
Oh, no, I don't mean like every year I have that show. I just mean I go through that feeling, where I'm like, is this? I think that feeling never goes away. Where you're just like, okay, what do I do next? What do I do
I
next?
think
How do I
it's
keep growing?
regular. I think it's so regular
I think
because
so.
it's not a safe path doing acting, doing stand up. Like,
Yeah,
especially in a pandemic, you're like, where's the money going to come from today, tomorrow? So, but I
yeah,
mean, but you have those shows. I feel like that
sure.
kind of reaffirm it.
What was it? What was the experience for you? Where you
For
had the
me,
like you weren't sure, and then you had a show where it just felt right,
uh,
and
same
everything you could say was like, I belong
same
here.
bar. I did my 15-minute set in, but this was like a 5-minute set on a Christmas show,
Yeah.
and
What's
I
the bar
was
out of curiosity? Do
the bar. Ooh,
you remember the name? No, it's fine. It's fine.
oh, Call Valley. Call Valley. Call with a K.
Okay.
KAW
Okay.
Valley. You just look that up, like Lawrence, Kansas. You'll see it.
Cool.
Call Valley Bar, not the soccer team.
Yeah.
So I was doing a Christmas show, and like we weren't even getting paid. A lot of like way too many comics, honestly, on the set, and the money was going to like one of those Christmas toy foundations for kids. It was a good
Yeah.
cause, and the guy who
Dude,
organized.
it's always those fundraiser shows or something because you're doing a good cause. It's like life, or if you've been believe in some kind of spirituality or something, it's like I'm gonna reward this guy.
Yeah, and also people want to show up more too when they know it's going towards a good cause instead of the comedians, the broke
Yeah,
comedians who really need the money.
yeah,
We're the ones who need it the most, and we can't
yeah.
even.
Every show as a starting comic is a fundraiser.
Yeah, pretty much. So I do this set, and the host goes on first. He's the guy who organized it. Does about 15 minutes. He does well. He's a strong comic for sure.
Cool.
Um, Someone else goes on, does like 2-3 minutes, very quick, and
Yeah,
then I go on, and everyone's gets 7-8 minutes, but he says to me, "You get 5." I'm like, "Oh wow, good to know you have faith in me as a comedian."
yeah,
So I go on there, and I basically like the first thing I do is it's a Christmas show. It's in December, and I'm like, "Yeah, Christmas." And I'm like, "Nah, I'm Jewish." And
yeah.
that gets the first laugh, and from there it just went. Like I did 4.5 more minutes of comedy, and like
Just momentum from the get go.
I've never in my life gotten such big laughs and up until that point. I was like, I'm not the best comedian here, but I was the best one tonight.
I mean, and I think that the awesome thing about getting that feeling that you had there is that you can do it again. And so you can kind of chase
You
that
don't know when
thing.
it's
Like,
gonna
how do I do it
happen.
again?
You don't know what's gonna
Yeah,
happen, but because
yeah,
yeah, I mean, I feel like when you start doing stand up, it's like your first crowd laugh. You have all these little small accomplishments that just amp you.
yeah, yeah.
I remember,
Ah,
yeah,
dude, you get me, Jad. I feel like we're talking about like we're two addicts, like talking about last time we got high. Like, oh, like the come down and you come back up. Oh, that's the best.
not wrong. It's just nostalgia right now.
Yeah,
Nostalgia,
dude.
man.
When was the last time you had a big high? Well, it's at this bar, Call Valley. Dude, that's awesome, man. That's awesome.
Have
Yeah.
you ever had a good show, like good for whatever the time was, like early on it was well when it
Sure.
went well, and then someone goes on after you and does even better, and then you're like,
Oh God, dude, it's you're
the worst
happy.
feeling.
It's so funny as a comic. It's like you're happy, but are you happy? Because it's like
Well,
there
are
is a
comics happy?
Are you ever happy? You know, you're happy for like the 10 minutes after you have a good set, and then you're back to your regular life.
Yeah, I feel like you're happy, and then you're like, I couldn't have better, not good enough.
Yeah, dude. There's a mix. I'm a pretty positive guy a lot of times, but comedy is just like also a jaded world, dude. So, and you start to realize like different things about yourself. Even like, wait, why do I need this?
It takes so long too. It's such a big time commitment, and I think that's the other thing. It's like you write like you're a full-time comic, but like if you think back to like when you were like a music teacher, which in your case, literally were a music teacher, and you were doing stand-up at night. And you're like, so I spend 8 hours a day at school and I spend 3 or 4 hours at the club. Like, what time is there for me?
Yeah, that's your time, I guess, at that time. You have to really, if you're doing that right at that phase, or like when I look back when I was doing that, that was who I was. It was like I would be when I was at school, I'd be writing jokes during like a psych class. When I was in between teaching students, like when they would leave, I'd be like writing jokes in the notebook, thinking about an open mic. You know, you're thinking about an open mic like later that night to wait. It's like even though your set's going to be like 5 minutes, the whole process before waiting, whether it's like a sign up sheet or whatever, waiting to get called on, and then hang out with the comics afterwards. It's like, it's a good handful of hours that you're putting into it.
It's fun. It's a fun, like,
and I love it.
Good amount of hours. Like the whole, like, I think like the whole thing about about comedians talking after the show or away during the show, I think that's important and it's enjoyable, but it's like it's a lot of mental energy, it's a lot of physical energy, it's a lot of just time, and it's like I get more nervous if I'm like the fifth person up, right? I get more nervous as I get closer.
Yeah.
By the time that fourth person is 4 minutes into his 5 minute set, I'm like
you're thinking about your set.
We go.
Yeah.
You know,
you hear the NBA championship song go on, you know.
Yeah. You walk up there and you got like, I get and I feel like I wrote this as a tweet, but I feel this is honestly, I feel like Eminem's song, Lose Yourself is like the soundtrack to
every time you go up on stage or just in general.
You want to lose yourself in the music. I'm just going up.
Yeah. And it's like really intense, but then it's like, you know, like a dick joke as soon as you get up.
Oh yeah, and then it's like just a joke that is like not serious at all. I feel like what was that like for you? Because you were like going from like, what grade did you teach?
So in my set I talk about like third grade, but I taught kindergarten through fifth grade at like a school. We were like contracted to the school, which was a awesome experience, tiring but awesome. And then I also taught at like 2 different music studios, which would be like private lessons for all ages.
Yeah, so I feel like for you, you're like going from like being like Mr. de Guzman, and then you go and then you take off your serious face here.
Yeah, dude.
It's like you're code switching, right? And then you're like, all right, got to become JR.
That's a funny way to look at it, man. I never even thought about it like that. Because yeah, you're right. It's like you're going on as like, hey, everyone, like have some respect. Like let's learn how to be like civil, you know? And then I go to a thing and I'm like the most disobedient person in the room. And that's why people enjoy it.
Then you're just telling jokes about like, who knows what.
But you know, I actually thought of it as similar hats, because when in the classroom, you're kind of doing a set. You have a set list, you know? It's like I have a warm-up thing. That's like my opener. It's my opening joke. And then, okay, this is the lesson plan. That's like all the meat in between. And I got to close strong with some kind of, what was this lesson about? What did we learn? What did we review? And it was fun, man. And a lot of it is also crowd control teaching, like especially little kids.
Oh yeah.
So it was good practice for stand-up.
I worked in public schools for a little bit.
What did you do?
It was like my first semester, my senior year, so not that long ago, and I just applied for a job to be like a teaching aide.
Yeah.
Having no idea what that entails.
Yeah.
And it was very part-time, but those very part-time hours were very tiring. Kindergarten and first graders
a lot
are
of energy. Tough. Yeah.
They're tough.
What were you because I remember having teaching aides as a kid, like, and there's just a guy in the room and I had no idea what he was doing there. But were you like more hands-on?
Yeah, well, it depended on the day of the week. So I worked 3 days a week, and one day was kindergarten, one day was first grade, one day was like high school. It was for kids who were just like falling behind in class, pretty much. They were intelligent. They just were falling behind. So the first day of the week, kindergarten. so hands-on. They know nothing. Respectfully,
Yeah.
they know nothing.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to
Yeah,
insult
yeah.
kindergartners. They're just five. You know.
Yeah, there's a kindergartner out there, dude, who's fucking pissed off right now. He's like,
Yeah,
"How dare you
he's mad now at
disrespect
me
my
for saying that.
intelligence?
No, but you're
Look at this finger art." Yeah,
you're teaching them how to read.
yeah,
Crazy. And then the first
sure.
graders, and like they know a little more. They know a little
Hmm.
more, you know. And in first grade, you start to tell like intelligence a little differently too. You have that one kid who's reading at like a college level or something like that.
Yeah,
You have that one kid who still can't read,
yeah, yeah.
and you're like,
That's
oh
great.
wow. And
Yeah, it's
high
something.
schoolers was nothing.
Yeah. Wait. You said you had a kid in high school who couldn't read?
No. They could read. But one day I
Oh,
taught
okay.
them in high school, and to my knowledge, they could all read.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
that
yeah,
would be a way
yeah.
bigger.
So that's a whole different. Yeah. So okay, gotcha. I see
But
what you're saying.
they didn't
Like,
want my
yeah,
help.
they
They're
all
too
have like a level
they're
of
too
skill.
brash. They're too brash to be like, I want your help, and because I'm only a couple years older than they are.
It's such a crazy difference. And then I think that must have been tough coming in as like trying to be authority, but like you're not that much older.
Not I didn't even care about being 30. I was just like I'm here for like 3-4 hours, whatever I'm here for, and
Yeah.
like I would like to help you with what it would like if there's something you help with, I would like to try to help you, and maybe I can, maybe I can't, but like
Hmm.
they would struggle and they would circumvent me completely.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't look cool too, like to ask for help and whatever. I don't know. So there's
No,
probably a bunch of different aspects.
it does not look cool at all, but
Yeah.
it is. I
Yeah.
do want to ask this before I forget, unrelated.
Yeah.
When your family moved to America from the Philippines, you lived in a storage unit for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You talk about it in your stand-up, but I want to hear more about that. Like,
I
what's
know, dude.
the deal there?
Okay, so the full story. So I was actually asking my mom about this the other day too, because I was so young. But because I went back there and like they've like gentrified everything. So I think it's like super nice now. But it was like this garage unit that somebody had converted into like a little one bedroom of like or studio or whatever it was. And I think it was just literally like a small like shed thing. I think there was like one bathroom. It was just small thing for like 5 people. We lived there for longer than 2 weeks. I just say 2 weeks because it's funny.
Yeah,
Like, and then
no,
we're out.
makes sense.
Well, we might have been there for a few months. And then we lived, it's funny, went from one like garage type of thing to another garage type of thing. Cause then I think we lived after that in my aunt and uncle's like converted garage in like a bigger home. So it went from one small garage to like a nicer garage, you know?
Okay, so it wasn't like a storage unit at like a storage property.
No, no, no. It was like a little like just storage like garage shed type thing.
Okay,
That was separate from a house. Yeah.
okay. When you talked about it you talk about it in the comedy lineup on Netflix. When you talk about, I
Yeah.
immediately envisioned like going like driving down the street to like one of the storage units, and then there's just a
Oh
family
yeah.
living in there. You know?
No, yeah. I mean, it's funny because it's sort of like that because I believe it was like just it looks like, I'm trying to think of like you have a house and there's like the detached little like storage shed where you'd keep like lawn tools and stuff. It looks like that. So there's still sort of that same imagery. And I wanted to go visit it, right? Actually, when I did the comedy lineup and everything, like I was just in this weird nostalgic phase. I was like, let me go look at some of these things from my childhood now that I'm living in LA too. And I went back and saw it, and it's like a nice like hipster shed now.
Well, that's LA right there.
Dude, it's like nice. I think they've actually like added on to it too, like little parts and stuff. But it's still nostalgic for me to just go back to that area because there was a lot of like childhood stories that I remember from there. My brother like one of them, I don't know why this is like one of the most visceral memories. I remember because I don't remember it myself, but I remember this is something that we would always talk about from that time. Was like my brother running around and like playing in some like I think there was like how they have like a little parcel of land that there's no house yet, but it's just like a land for sale. There
Yeah.
was like something like that out there, and then a bunch of like just junk, and we'd go play there. And then my brother like tripped and got like a nail in his knee,
Oh
his
yeah.
leg.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And that was just like one of the most famous memories from that time. Like, so I just like to go back there and just like try to imagine what also looking at it to see like now I'm at the age around where maybe my parents would be, and like
Yeah.
picturing them have 3 kids. Oh my God. I'm like, can't even think. Such
Yeah,
a
it was
different life
so
that I'm
there were
living.
5 people in there?
5 people. Yeah.
3 young kids and two parents.
Yeah.
Oh my, that's too much for me.
Yeah, dude. I do have a lot of respect for my parents doing what they did because, like, then they came here and so my dad was in the military in the Philippines
Yeah.
and pretty high ranking. And in the Philippines, that's like very powerful, because that's like you can basically rule. And and then he moved here, and the mom became the breadwinner and was a dentist, and he became like sort of her support. So I have a lot of respect because, like, I think a lot of guys would have an issue with that, like,
It's a tough
self-esteem or
transition for sure.
yeah. So I have a lot of respect for everything they did when they came over here.
I don't know much about the Philippines, but like obviously you hear about the corruption.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
The corruption's popular.
being in the military is a
Even
big
the
deal.
Yeah, well, like, so I remember my dad, dude, I wish I could see the timeline. I need to ask him more about this stuff. He was part of like a military coup at one point. There was
Oh,
like a
he
corrupt
wasn't.
government thing. Yeah, yeah. He's in like a picture in the newspaper on like the back of some Jeep or something. But I don't think he was like a big part in like planning it or anything. He was just one of the military involved. And then he was like working his way up the ranks. He was like a quote unquote like career man, but in the military, trying to
Yeah.
like move up. And then we had my sister passed away when I was really young. I think I was like less than a year old, and she was like 6. And I think that just rocked a lot of their world and their life. And they're just like, let's get out of here. Let's move to the Philippines or to America. Sorry. And I still have a lot of respect the fact that he was able to give up like power, like power in any country. So
Well, give up a lot to go from
yeah,
the career military man to America.
yes. I would say, like, if I had to summarize it, he went from like a career military man to like a family man because he was like, he was basically Mr. Mom over here. Like, and now all his kids just like, rag on him, and it's funny. Like,
Now it's been a while. He's used to it now.
yeah, dude, to
But
me that blows
but
my
then
mind. Like,
though,
he could have like had us all killed, thrown in the river, and there'd be a whole new family there waiting for him.
why'd you kill your family? They disrespected me.
Yeah, and they'd be like, "Oh, that's fair."
All right,
But
I
yeah.
understand. So he just kind of became Mr. Mom, and your mom was actually a dentist.
Yes, my mom's a dentist, and my dad's the office manager. I would say when we go back, he still has some power, though. And it's funny. Power is a very specific word, but I think in a place where there is a lot of differences in power where you go, it's like a big deal. Because like we went over, and people will. This is a real thing. Like I always try to be careful of not like disrespecting anyone that's like living in the Philippines now too, by saying like picturing it so much as a third world country, because it's not like that's the life everyone's living. Like there are like very well-to-do people out there, and very smart, like talented people. But there was a guy. So like it's pretty common to like for the cops to ask for bribes. They'll stop you and get a
Yeah,
bribe in certain parts of the city. And I'm thinking of like Manila. And so we got stopped one time. It was like our whole family in the car,
you're
and
just
my
visiting.
dad. Yeah, I used to go back like every year, almost every year for a little while, because my brothers were living out there. For my brothers are both dentists too. They went back to the Philippines for dental school, and yeah, now they're back in America.
They went
Oh
to the
yeah,
Philippines from America for dental school.
yeah, dude, it's pretty wild. It's wild. Because that's what
It
mom.
sounds like a sitcom or something.
I know, man. Yeah. So it's interesting because like my mom. So my mom's a dentist, my brothers are dentists, and their wives are dentists, and then I'm the only one that does stand up.
Ah,
So
you were the black sheep.
yeah, yes, yeah, exactly. And my mom moved back to the Philippines for dental school when she was younger, and so it was kind of a pathway that we all kind of knew about. No one did after college, and then somewhere along the way, both my brothers were doing music related stuff, and they shifted into like, all right, I'm going to do dentistry. I think I'm just the last one holding out. I'm holding on. I'm like, no, I'm not going to give up this dream. I'm going to be something. I'll show you.
I'll
But
get pissed.
yeah, never. And so, so when we were in the Philippines, I was visiting my brother. brothers, and we get stopped by a police officer. He's basically asking for a bribe. I don't even remember what they stopped for, no reason really. And my dad just mentions like, "Hey, who's your boss?" And he's like, he says a name, and my dad's like, "Oh yeah, that's my classmate. Like, we went to the PMA together, the Philippine Military Academy, and I was in the military here, Air Force, all that stuff." And they're just like, "Okay, go ahead." So we got through it.
You're good.
Oh yeah, because that guy could fire. You're asking for a bribe from like somebody in the military or like somebody who's served with your boss. So it's like they knew that they could get fired or something like that. That was the first time I looked at my dad. I'm like, maybe I'll stop calling my dad a bitch when I do stand up. This guy's pretty tight. This guy's kind of cool. Shit.
A whole new light shined on your dad that day.
Yeah, dude, that was cool. But
That's incredible. I can't believe that happened. Do you speak Tagalog or any of the Filipino languages?
very little. Like when I'm out there, sometimes I'll throw out some words, but everyone speaks English really in the Philippines, or like most people do.
English there.
Yeah. I forget what the story was. It was like a bunch of people came to teach English during a certain time. I think the first were like missionaries or something, and then the Philippines. I could be misunderstanding it, but I think the Philippines was also like a sort of like an American occupied territory.
They were once upon a time. They were, yeah.
That's what it was. Yeah. Yeah, and also it was like a Spanish colony for a long time, so it was like a lot of the elites spoke Spanish for a was
Is that where your last name comes from?
Yeah, de Guzman, but de Guzman, the way we say it.
So, who was someone in your family Spanish?
No, so I basically like every Filipino has a Spanish last name because
I've noticed
the colonization. It's like Mexico, like they're technically like indigenous. They would have some indigenous name, but we're also colonized by Spain.
Okay, yeah, I was always kind of curious about that because I'm like, I feel like in Philippines they shouldn't be having these incredibly Spanish names.
It's so Spanish. Yeah, you meet an Asian guy who's like, yeah, my last name's Ramos. It's like, what?
Rodriguez. So many Rodriguezes.
Oh, totally, dude. Yeah. So you'll meet, and some Filipino dudes kind of look Mexican. So it's like, yeah. I've went to auditions for like Hispanic roles before, and I just, they were like, I would ask my agent, like, should I do this? And you're like, just go, dude. Maybe they'll cast you as something else.
I feel like every comic has that period in their life where they're like they're starting to get booked, and then it's like they're like, so can you do like 30 minutes? And they're like, yeah, and they've never done more than 12 or something like that. Mike Birbiglia talks about that, where he was at like one of his first 30-minute sets he was asked to do, and he did.
It was a college, right?
Yeah, Mike Birbiglia used to do the college thing for years on end. He was doing the NACA college thing, and he did 4 minutes in like one of his first shows, like literally, and he's asked to do 30.
Yeah,
he had 11 minutes of material.
It's so funny and relatable. We've all been through that thing. That's kind of what my experience was too. Like all that stuff happened around the same time. So if you could see any like blueprint where it's every comic's path is like just one possible path, and I'd ask everyone, what did you do? How did you do it? So mine, it was like, I think around 2015, I started doing, I got signed with my first college agency. Then 2016, I was like touring finally, but it was really like, that's what helped me build up to like an hour. It wasn't like I really had the hour then. It was like, I was filling an hour of time, but it was like, dude, I remember I would do, so I'd probably do like maybe 30 solid minutes, 15 like okay kind of crowd worky stuff, not even okay. It's literally just me like, hey, what's your major? Cool. What's your major? Nice.
You're
like what?
You're just looking for something, and I've done this too when I've been like, just blanking. You're looking for something to get a joke off of.
Yeah. No, exactly. Yeah.
And then that'll throw you back.
And you try to go and you run out, like you think this is enough fodder, right? Like enough to have a joke. No, that wasn't enough. Let me find another one.
Yeah, people don't understand this about comics, where it's like material lasts people, different comics, different amounts of time.
Yeah.
So like one it does, like some comics work faster. The other thing is like you're probably at this point where this doesn't happen to you, but for me, it's like if I'm going on stage and I do like my first couple jokes and they don't do well, I start altering all my sets because I'm not at the point where I have enough confidence to roll on
You
with
kind of, yeah.
the exact same joke, the exact same way. So the jokes get short and I start forgetting lines and little jokes in it.
Interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, I think I'm still adjusting, even if I'm not maybe necessarily changing the specific joke. I definitely will add a different word if I see like the environment's different or like try to frame it differently. But yeah, dude, stand up. Yeah, those early sets, I would also end with sometimes Q&As to fill the time. Dude,
12 to 5 minutes.
dude, yeah, bro. I would do a Q&A. And the best part is like I wasn't famous or anything, So it was like 2016, 2015 or whatever. And I would do at the end. It's like, oh fuck, I have like 10 minutes left. All right, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? All right, you know what? I think I want to just get to know you guys and see what you guys want to know about me. So I'll answer some questions. They're like, dude, who the fuck are you?
They're like, we got in here for free. We don't know who you are.
Yeah. I was here because they said there'd be pizza. I do love it's when the college circuit. I think the thing I like about it is like meeting the students and seeing what just like that's really like the sort of like after the show talking to them and seeing like what's going on, like what's up with TikTok, what's this that.
It helps you stay up to date with the trends.
Yeah, because otherwise I'm getting old. Every year that passes, like I don't know what's going on, and that I feel like doing colleges helps me.
And you aren't even old. You're just like older.
Yeah,
compared to
Thanks,
college,
man.
so that's it.
That's kind of you. I'm always interested to hear every comic's philosophy on where the lines are, offending, not offending, and from the variety of comics that are out there, from like the Nate Bargatze's who aren't trying, political or edgy. Not saying he's not edgy. He's very clean, but it's like it doesn't feel clean, that whole thing, and who's amazing. I was like one of my favorite comics. And then
so underrated.
Yeah. And then, Chappelle, he's going to try to dance on the line the whole time. And in fact, you might have to like some deep belief in you is going to have to be questioned while you're watching it. And he's amazing in a whole different way. Yeah. So it's interesting. I think it's just finding what do you believe as you go up there when you're talking? Cause it's hard to navigate right now. I think like the funny thing is like Andrew Schultz probably could get, canceled for things he's saying. I think it's like you just have to sort of be genuine with it too, because that's what he's going to deliver, and it is pretty insightful sometimes. So it's like
Andrew Schultz is probably, of all the comedians I've seen recently, like the most consistently controversial comedian. Like just like everything he says has some level of controversy behind it, which is what makes him funny.
Yeah, and it's not just for like shock value too. It seems like he's genuinely each time trying to make a point or something. So I think that's what's where it has like depth instead of just like, yeah.
I think where it really impresses me is that he seems to really just enjoy himself on stage.
Yeah.
Him and Pete Davidson, who, say what you want about stand-up, they seem to both really enjoy themselves on stage.
I need to see more of Pete's stand-up. I haven't watched enough of it yet.
If you watch his most recent special on Netflix, which wasn't received well, he's just having a good time. Like that's it. He just goes up.
What's it called?
So being you can ask me because I don't remember.
Okay, that's fine. I'll go look it up.
He just seems to just enjoy himself, and like that's all he wants.
That's it, man. I think when there's so many distractions in the stand-up world, the simple part of it is just like go up and enjoy the set. You gotta remember like when it's the Eminem song, dude. We're calling back to the Eminem song. You go up, you get focused. It's just that moment.
Lose yourself
in the moment.
Mom spaghetti. Well, JR, thank you so much for coming on to my podcast. You can see JR in the comedy lineup on Netflix, or you can stream his comedy album Dual Citizen on iTunes. And if you want to learn more about his YouTube or his social media handles or anything like that, go to jrdeguzman.com. Is that everything?
Yep, that's it.
Great. Well,
thanks, man.
For sure. Thank you so much, and be safe.
All right.